Supercars Sessions, the 8th and final one. Big thank you to everybody that's been a part of it and everyone who's watched it and commented on YouTube or Facebook and kept all the chats going. For the last one, I've got Jack Smith, I've got Tom Randle, and I've got Garry Jacobson, who seems to be hiding out at Norwell Motorplex up in Queensland today. Let's start with Jack. Where are you at the moment, Jack, and what have you been up to?
I'm in Yarrawonga, which is kind of a little country town in Victoria, where I've been living all year, and you know, not too dissimilar to what everybody else has been doing, I guess. I've been doing a lot of training and trying to keep busy. Doing a bit of work with the family business, and yeah, just doing my best to keep busy. So that's my life. It's pretty rainy and a little bit cold, so it's yeah, I'm pretty excited to kind of get out of here for a bit and get racing.
Do you consider yourself a country boy?
Well, I grew up on the Gold Coast, so that's kind of hard to really justify, isn't it? I like it down here. It's good. Everyone's really nice, and you know, it's a grounding place to be. But no, I couldn't claim that. I don't think, living on the Gold Coast, it's pretty much the direct opposite.
It surprises me that you're a Gold Coast kid, because you don't scream Gold Coast at all. You actually, I reckon you suit the location that you're in, and I mean that in a really honest and nice way.
What would I have to look like to scream Gold Coast, Chad? Well, what's the stereotypical Gold Coast person?
I don't know. They opened up that new day club last week up there. And
I saw that. I saw every man and his dog was there, weren't they? I saw all the videos. Pretty cool, actually.
Tommy Randle, are you upstairs at Dream Simulation? Where are you today?
I am upstairs at Dream Simulation or Dream Motorsport, whichever you prefer. So again, lockdown, I can really only go two places. That's home and Dream Simulation. So yeah, as Jack touched on, it's a tough time for Victorians and New South Welshmen, but there will be an end in sight, I'm sure. And looking forward to, as Jack said, a bit more normality, and certainly envying everyone who's up on the Gold Coast or in Queensland for that matter, that's living their best lives. But we'll get through it. And yeah, I mean, I'm still pretty lucky. I've got my health and got good support, family, friends, albeit over Zoom chats, most of them. But yeah, it could be a lot worse for sure.
Give us a little 25 words or less rundown of the prizes behind you.
These prizes, well, I'm probably being not biased here, but these ones aren't that flash. Most of these are like second or third place trophies. We've actually got a trophy cabinet downstairs when you walk in, which is sort of all the first place trophies. But I can promise you none of these are stolen. They're all mine. But the ones up here are mainly from British F3, from Alton Park. I've got one from Silverstone, Brands Hatch, and then there's a few Formula Ford TRS F4 trophies, and then that's a TRS rear wing end plate. But I don't think that was 25 words or less. Sorry, Chad.
Close to it. I've got another challenge for you coming up later on, but I'm going to set you a challenge to go and find something in the workshop and bring it back to show us a bit of show and tell. Okay. I want to chat to Gaz. Gaz, what are you doing, mate? Where are you?
Mate, I've been living at Norwell Motorplex, being part of the furniture for the last 7 weeks or so. So just been working on my driving while we've had the opportunity to catch up to speed with the mid-season break. I think I had a conversation with Paul Morris after the second Townsville race, and I said, look, I think I can improve my driving. Can you help me out? And yeah, it's been a really good journey for me, and I'm excited about seeing what I can do when I hit the track at Sydney soon enough.
That's really cool. So I've been lucky enough to spend a day at Norwell, and for a guy who has no idea about how to drive, I learn a lot. How much can a guy who's an expert driver, a supercars driver, learn from a guy like Paul?
For me, it's just extracting that a little bit more out of myself and qualifying. I think I've been lucky enough to be part of Team Sydney. You get access to the 888 data of Jamie and Shane, and there's just that little bit of, I think, that right foot braking technique that I've always wanted to try and master. And I've been a left foot braker in my time, and I've had some success with it, you know, Super 2 championships and whatnot. But yeah, once you get to the top level, no matter how good you think you are or what you know, there's always more to learn, and the motorsport always consistently evolves. So I think it's just realising the fact that Paul's got a lot to teach when it comes to the right foot braking technique and making sure that you maximise all of those tools that you can to get the most out of yourself. The steering technique as well, like, I'll be honest, I was probably moving the steering wheel a bit too much and overreacting to the car and the grip levels underneath me. The first time he took me out, I had a lot to work on. So that's just me being honest. But yeah, I'm excited about evolving as a driver as best as I can. I want to demand that my team brings me back a faster car, but I've also got to push myself and make sure that I'm a faster driver when the time comes. So hopefully take all this momentum to Sydney and Bathurst and finish the year on a high.
Yeah, how would you rate your first year in at Team Sydney? Now that you've got a good teammate in Fabian, you've got a guy like Jeff Slater there calling some of the shots with Jono Webb. How's year one been, mate?
Yeah, look, it was a challenging start. I think, me and Fabian were, we wanted to be further up the grid, but it was just all about trying to start the race wherever you started and grab 2 or 3 spots at a time and finish further up the field. And I feel like I've done that. I even, I've seen where Fabian's come from and seen how many trophies he's won. I thought, if I can qualify near Fabian's pace, then I'll consider that an achievement for myself. And so far, so good. I feel like I've been representing the team quite well in terms of the package that we're currently got. But I think just evolving, to get the most out of your team around you. At the time, I think we had some struggles with having our team based at New South Wales and COVID and all those things that we're all pretty well aware of. It's just about making sure that we build the team up around us and make sure that me and Fabian know that we've got to be leaders both on and off the track. And I've sort of enjoyed that challenge. And yeah, I think that we can only really go forward from here. So we're pretty excited about where we're heading.
Hey, Jack, you've been working really closely with Andy Jones, who's taken on a full-time job with the family business as well. How have you found working with Andy this year, and what are sort of the things that he's been working with you to improve?
Yeah, it's been good. It's always good working with Andy. I've worked with him for, my whole supercar career, if you like. So, we're both used to each other's company and how we operate. And it's been good having him closer. I think the past couple of years he was heavily involved in the TV side of things and whatnot. So he was a little bit more distant, and having him close is good. And, we've just been working on kind of trying to simulate some of my weaknesses, if you like, and improve them, just like everyone else is trying to do. And similar to what Garry said, qualifying's been weak for us, and our race pace is good. And yeah, just trying to kind of simulate that high pressure environment and get the most out of everything, straight off the bat, rather than, waiting to warm up. Trying to kind of limit that warm up phase and and get the pace straight out the gate.
The return to racing for us takes us back to Sydney, sort of like last year, isn't it? We had that big COVID break and then it was back at Sydney. 4 races. What are your thoughts on that, Jack? Because you were pretty quick there last year when we came back.
Yeah, Sydney's been, an okay track for us. It's not bad. I've been there. I think everyone's done enough laps there that they know it well enough. Doing 4 back-to-back weekends, I'm definitely all for doing the back-to-back weekends. Being at the same track, is not ideal, but it's so much better than doing nothing. It's crazy. So, I'm excited about doing that really, quick, sharp back-to-back rounds. And I think that'll be a good thing going into Bathurst. Having a month out of the car before Bathurst is something that I'm not so keen on. It's best to be as sharp as you can and as in tune as possible. So I think it'll be good for me, and I think it'll be good for a lot of the other rookies.
Tom, it's not just the end of this year that we've now announced. We've also got the beginning of next year. So your very first time as a full-timer is going to be at Newcastle. What do you think about that?
It's great to be back at Newcastle for starters. I mean, it's pretty brutal that it's going to be the 250k races, which is what it traditionally has been at the start of every year. It's unfortunate that it's no longer at Adelaide at the Superloop 500 that it was. But, I mean, it's probably the next best thing, really, apart from a Bathurst start to the year, which we had this year. So I've really been working on my fitness over the last 6 months since sort of recovering from what I went through at the start of the year. And I genuinely probably feel fitter now than I ever have, but I just really want to work on that. So when we get to Newcastle next year, which I think is going to be a pretty hot round at the beginning of March, it's always quite warm up there, being in the north of New South Wales, and a street circuit's very demanding as well. So I just want to have everything right from my aspect. I don't want to leave that round knowing that I could have been fitter and that I couldn't handle, for example, the Sunday, because you've really got to rebound from the Saturday. It's interesting, our sport. It's not like AFL, I guess, where you play the game and then the next game is the following week. We put everything on the line, or our bodies on the line on the Saturday, and then we've got to completely rebounce for Sunday and recover properly, so we're just as sharp to do another 250k race. So yeah, been working on the fitness, and not even just for that, it's also for the next wildcard round that we do, and also for the Bathurst 1000 this year. So I just want to make sure everything I do, I can do right. But it's always a constantly evolving thing with your fitness. It can always be better. So that's kind of been the number one at the moment. But really, it's a pretty spectacular place to start my full-time campaign.
Do you know which of the 4 events in Sydney you might get to drive the wild card at, and how did the test day go?
I'm not 100% sure yet. What I'm hearing, I think it's going to be the second round, but we don't know the format yet in regards to tyres, whether it's going to be soft tyre running, hard tyre running, or a combination. And we're also not sure about the layout. So a few question marks still there, but either way, looking forward to representing all my partners and just be back real racing again, where we're not behind the wheel of the simulators. But the test day went really well, and you kind of forget how much you enjoy driving until you actually do it for real, and how much you missed it. I remember rocking up to the track and just smelling the fumes was pretty special, and driving that sensation of speed, G-forces on the body, working with the team again. And I think all the guys from Tickford really enjoyed being there. And to be honest, we didn't even feel like we were in Victoria, because it was just such a nice day, and it was nice to get out of Metro Melbourne. So Jack, you're a lucky boy being up in Yarrawonga, and Garry being in the Gold Coast. Definitely don't take that for granted.
Are you ready for your challenge, Tom?
Which one? There's a few.
There's a few. Today's challenge. I want you to run downstairs while I'm chatting to the other boys here, and see if you can bring up the cool email that you've got, the letter from David Coulthard. See if you can unearth that for us and bring it up.
Okay, I'll go and get that for you.
All right, because it's one thing that I've wanted to be able to show the race fans here on supercars.com for a while. So Tom's going to run off and find that. I'm going to throw some back to Garry here, because Garry, you mentioned the challenge that you've had around left foot braking. Essentially, what you're telling me is that, are you going to switch to right foot braking for the Sydney races? Is that the plan?
Yeah, that's the goal. I just wanted to give it a crack and see what all the fuss is about. So, that's the last 3-4 champions of their supercars have always been right foot breakers. So that's the challenge ahead of me. I think there's never been a better time for me to try it out. We're going to race 4 weekends in a row, or 4 rounds in a row at the same track, well, with different layouts, of course. But it just presents itself with the break that we've had in the middle of the season to try and reflect and look at what I can do better. So I'm here at Norwell for 7 weeks in a row practicing. I've done 10 laps in a Super 3 car that I was lucky for Nash to let me borrow at QR. So I've just been trying to reflect on what I can do better, and that's the journey ahead for myself.
All right, nice. I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. I remember I got this memory of Tom Randle switching from left foot to right foot mid-race once at QR. Did that happen once?
That did. Yep, that happened 2019 Dunlop Super 2, the second race. I was leading from Bryce, and my right foot was going numb. I don't know whether it was like a pressure point on my glute, like on the seat, but I was a bit nervous that I was losing that feeling in my foot, especially on the brake pedal. So I made a decision with about 9 laps to go to switch to left foot braking, which was something I hadn't done since the end of 2018. and you just had to pick it up mid-race while I was leading. And it was all going really well, actually. Still managed to hold off Bryce. And then unfortunately, we had an airbox fire coming out of turn 3, and it actually let Bryce through. But towards the end, the feeling in my foot was coming back, and then I went back to right foot braking anyway. But I think it's important to be ambidextrous anyway, to be able to do both, because you don't know when you're in that situation. But even so, as Garry touched on, there are corners where you can sort of dance on the pedals, where you're not down changing, whether it's like a high speed corner, for example, at Bathurst, which we've actually seen in the past, where drivers will use their left foot to settle the car in a high speed section and then go back to right foot braking when you're down changing. So yeah, it's important that you have the skills, I think, to be able to use both feet for the brakes when required.
Well, we know where Tom is locked in for next year at Tickford. Jack, are we any closer to find out exact news about what your future holds for next year, mate?
Probably, yeah. I am. I'd get in trouble if I said anything, I suppose. So, but yeah, I think everyone will find out soon enough.
Okay, Gaz, what's 2022 for you like, mate?
Yeah, look, I'll be honest. I've got a 2-year deal at Team Sydney, so I'll carry out my second year with Team Sydney and take the momentum into next season.
All right, perfect.
What
Jack,
about you, Chad? Chad, what's your
me,
deal for 2022? Yeah, well, you're asking for ours, so what's your deal for 2022?
No, Brad Jones did that to me when I asked him about his driver lineup. He said, "What are you doing next year?" I was promised that I was driving car 88 next year, and then Brock Feeney out of nowhere just stole it from me. So
That's unacceptable.
I thought that was
unacceptable.
I thought I'd signed the deal.
What about your co-driver options, Chad? Who are you going to co-drive?
Do you need one for next year, Gaz? I'm pretty.
It's Chase. It's Chase. Chase is your co-driver.
That's it, my little boy. He'll be all over that. Thoughts for the rest of the year from here, Jack? You mentioned a little bit about how cool it's going to be at Sydney and a chance to work through all that. What about formats? Are you looking hopefully to see some different tyre rules or something to change things up a little bit?
I think the tyre rules doesn't really bother me so much. That doesn't faze me what they decide to do there. I think I'd prefer to see the longer races like we did at Townsville again. The only really longer races that I've done is Clipsal or Adelaide start of last year and then the Bathurst rounds. So it's not really what I was expecting. Obviously the situation doesn't allow it and it's all changed, but yeah, I think it'd be good to get back to doing some longer races with fuel strategy and whatnot, and just kind of bring that whole element back into the game. I think it's a strength for our team, so I think that'd be good.
Garry, thoughts on longer races or different formats for Sydney?
Yeah, I think it provides a really good opportunity for the younger generation drivers to really get a rhythm going. The longer races is, I guess it justifies why we're all training hard and trying to be as fit as possible. We want to know if our car setup changes are working or not. I think the short races are fine. They're action-packed and keeps everybody on the edge of their seat. But I think you need to be able to show that you can get into a rhythm in a race and maybe show what a good job you're doing with looking after your tyres. We know that, the soft tyre at Sydney Motorsport Park is a really challenging tyre to keep on a nice, even tyre degradation level. So I'd love to see the reward for that. I'm excited to see who's going to be changing 2 tyres, 3 tyres or 4 tyres in the pit stops for the first weekend. We know that, BJR, the team where Jack's from, they're pretty quick with their pit stops. So yeah, look, I like the idea of the longer races. If there's people that are in charge of those decisions that I'm sure are smart enough to know how to make the right system work with the amount of staff that we have available with all of the COVID setbacks that we've had lately to get people to the track. But yeah, longer races are my pick.
And Tom, I reckon you'd like to see a co-driver session.
Wouldn't be too bad. Wouldn't be too bad at all. But as we said before, it'd be nice to confirm the wild card rounds, because it started off in Perth, then it got moved to Phillip Island, then it was talks of going to Queensland. So it'd just be nice to have another run, because we were meant to do 3 rounds and we've done 2 of the 3. So it'd be nice for the whole team, for myself, all my partners, that we get another run. So we'll see if there's a co-driver session. I know all the teams are going to have to do a pre-Bathurst test day anyway. And I guess having James up in Queensland at the moment makes it a little bit tricky, I'd say, because he can't come to the workshop at all. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to get back to Queensland. So I think once he commits to coming down to New South Wales for the round, well, all the Queensland teams, that is, and Queensland-based drivers, that's it, isn't it? Really, that they'll be down all the way till the end of Bathurst. So won't be seeing James for a while, but I'm sure he's enjoying life up on the Gold Coast just as much as you are, Garry.
Is that the closest we've ever heard to who you're driving with at Bathurst?
I don't think so. There's 2 other drivers in the stable. There's another one there's a guy that drove my car actually on the Tuesday, Cameron Waters. Have you heard of him, Chad?
I have. He goes all right. Now, did you complete your challenge to finish us off today?
I did.
Show and tell
I
with
did
Tom.
Complete my challenge.
This is a pretty special thing, mate. Explain it to us.
This one here, this is called the Innes Island Trophy. Well, this is an email, but this is from David Coulthard, who is the president of the BRDC, so the British Racing Drivers Club in the UK, and they're located at Silverstone. And there's an award that goes out every year, which is called the Innes Island Trophy, and that's awarded to a driver who displays courage, or best displayed courage and resilience in their championship year. So that was award. I was actually jointly awarded. So that was awarded to myself, and it also wasn't awarded to a driver. The second award was to Dr. Ian Roberts. So not a driver of a racing car, but a driver of a medical car who was instrumental in saving Romain Grosjean's life at the Bahrain Grand Prix late 2020. So quite honoured, considering it's not something you can vote for. It's just awarded, or it's voted on from the people that are on the board at the BRDC. So that was quite a surprise when I received that in my emails, to have an email from David Coulthard. So something I'll cherish for a while, and there was a nice little plaque that came with it. So yeah, something that's pretty honoured to receive that, and it hangs up quite nicely at the entry of Dream Motorsport or Dream Simulation, and it's something I definitely didn't steal either.
Well done, buddy. That's a pretty cool thing to have up on the wall alongside the Super 2 trophies and everything else that you've won. Hopefully get a few more trophies at the end of the year. And that applies to all of you guys. Well done on all the hard work that you've been doing in this downtime, mate. You have been making the most of this gap in the calendar. Well done. And Jack, cannot wait to see you back on the racetrack, mate. I think we've got some big things planned for you for the rest of the year. So, guys, thank you. And we'll see you, thankfully, I can finally say, at the racetrack in about 4 weeks. Bring it.
4 weeks too long, but can't wait. Thanks, Chad.
On you, boys.
Thanks, Chad.
Cheers, mate.
See ya.